Hello there and welcome to this short video on changes to the census return relating to exclusion data. Full guidance and all this sort of stuff, including the links to the DFE documentations, are up on our website. If you go to osmis.co.uk, there'll be a button on the homepage that takes you straight through to the census return information. New data items relate to permanent exclusions, so this is going to be collected one term in arrears from January 2020. Which means we need to start recording this information now. Once again, permanent exclusions only, and what we need to record is any review date, the outcome of the review, the date the pupil was reinstated to the school roll, and whether or not an SEN expert was asked to attend the EIR Independent Review Panel's meeting. This information is going to be recorded and reported by the school census. Once again, we need to start recording that information during this term because next term's return will report upon it. The final result of the decision to exclude must be returned, and where the decision's been both through governors and an independent review panel, only the result of the independent review panel's consideration should be recorded on the SIM system and included in the return. Okay, so that's it. Basically, we need to start recording this information now. Lunchtime exclusions data will no longer be collected, so no lunchtime exclusion data will be collected on the autumn return or any time forward. We're simply talking about fixed term and permanent exclusion details will be collected for one term previous as well as the normal 2 terms previous. Simply put, that means the autumn return will collect information for exclusions during the spring and the summer term this time, and then from the spring return onwards, only one term in arrears will be collected. Once again, this review data is only collected where a review of a permanent exclusion has taken place. The summer release delivered the changes to allow you to record this information in your SIM system, and there's a comparison of the 2 screens, the old one on the left, the new one on the right, and you'll see we're now talking about a governor review rather than discipline committee, and the IRP instead of appeal details. So we've got a few examples to work through here. So we exclude a child, there's a governor review of that process, and the governor's overturned the head teacher's decision. So in this case, you would normally record the permanent exclusion as normal, permanent exclusion, the reason for the exclusion and the start date. You'd then record the date of the governor review, the outcome of that review, which would then be reinstated from permanent back in the top box there, and we simply record the date of the reinstatement. Okay, and if we wish to, the parents' representation if they attended the meeting. Okay, final governor review outcome would then be one of the DFE code lists here, and that is pupil accepted reinstatement after initial governor review, or if they decided not to come back anyway, pupil declined the reinstatement from that code list. So that's the process around recording a reinstatement following a governor review of the head teacher's decision. If the governors decide to uphold the head teacher's initial decision and there's no review panel sitting, then we'd simply record the exclusion as normal. We'd record the date of the governor review and the fact that the exclusion stands, and then the final review outcome would be the review date, the review result, and we've got one there, exclusion upheld by initial governor review. Okay. If it actually goes to independent review panel and the child is reinstated, we'd record the initial exclusion as normal. Let's say it goes through governor review, exclusion stands, but the IRP meets and determines that the pupil should be reinstated. That would then be recorded there. If the parents or other interested party requested that an SEN expert would be present, we can put the tick in the box there. And then we would record that information, that decision going back to the governors, and the pupil accepted reinstatement after the IRP recommended the governing board to reconsider reinstatement. Okay, we would then record the nature of the exclusion at the top there as reinstated from permanent on the appropriate date. If the IRP upholds the initial decision of both the head and the governors, the exclusion is recorded, governor review date recorded, IRP review date recorded together with the details, and then in the final governor review outcome, we'd record that the exclusion was upheld by the IRP. And that should be about it. The details for the autumn return, once again, so we're zipping back to the autumn return. That's the process, basically, of recording the new review information that's required by census. Hello. Oh, see, I've shot forward here. Excuse me a second. Right, so as I said earlier, lunchtime exclusions data no longer required for census, no longer collected. And the autumn return will be collecting data for exclusions on both the spring and summer 2019 terms. And then from January 2020, it's going to start recording all this new review information. Okay, so fixed term and permanent exclusion data is recorded for the previous term only, and not the previous 2 terms, or not 2 terms prior, which is currently the case. So it's always going to be 1 term in arrears, just like the attendance data. In terms of fixed term exclusions, the data required and the data collected is not changed. That's the type of exclusion, the reason for it, the start date, the number of sessions, and the SEN status. For permanent exclusions, the reviews are only included where they have taken place, basically. Okay. And as I say, there's only a need for the final governor review outcome following the IRP where this has been held. So 1 or 2 pop quiz questions. If there's a permanent exclusion without a final governor review outcome, right, so there's nothing to go in those boxes, will the exclusion details be included, and will the final governor review outcome be included? In both cases, no. With a permanent exclusion with the final governor review upholding the exclusion, will the exclusion's details be included? Will the final governor review outcome be included? Yes. Okay, so there's been a final governor review there. And a permanent exclusion with the final governor review indicating restatement without the meeting of the IRP. So this is where the governors have overturned the head's decision. The exclusions detail will not be included, it won't get collected, but the final governor review outcome will be included in the return. Okay, hopefully that's been helpful, and thank you very much for your time.